We've been gone a long time. We back now. You twins? Nah, we cousins.
Michael, I'm going to start with you because obviously this is a big departure for you, playing two roles. But really, I want to talk to you about, as you said, diving deep into like the horror genre and what that was kind of like, because this is a very different project for you compared to your other filmography stuff.
Yeah, I mean, on the surface, honestly, I love fantasy and sci-fi. So, like, other worlds, alternate realities. Like, I'm into that. Like, just personally, I don't really watch horror films because I don't like horror movies. so it was a part of me that wanted to do this just to kind of see if it would take the edge off. You know what I mean? Of that experience, and it did because I laughed so much about making it, and we had so much fun, and in the scariest moments that's supposed to be scary, that we were having so much fun and trying to keep our together. So from that element, it was a lot of fun.
No, that's great to hear, especially considering just how gruesome some of that stuff is. I'm glad to hear that y'all were having a good time. I'm going to take it a little bit further back in the story. You ladies get the very enviable task of being the dual love interest for these two, for Smoke and Stack. And I want to start with you because your character, Annie, I just feel like I don't know, the way that she's the healer of the group. Could you talk a little bit about exactly what he told you as far as like what, sort of like indigenous and African and, former slave rituals that he was borrowing from when he sort of like crafted the mythology of your character?
Hoodoo is a real practice, and we had a hoodoo consultant, and I spoke to hoodoo priestesses, so it is very much grounded and real and practiced, and I think he's really treated it with as much respect and honor as possible, because I do feel like the Western world media has kind of shown us like a really dark side of voodoo, and I didn't know it was such a healing, loving, spiritual, connected practice. I feel so empowered and inspired by the people I've met in my research. So yeah, she is very real, and that practice is very real. I guess the thing that isn't real is the vampires. I
didn't want people thinking that the vampires were part of it, and like, he's adding a little spice on top of it to sort of serve the genre. Hailee, I want to bring it up again on the other side because I feel like the whole film is a bit of a fable. It's definitely leans into the idea that you can take, I think, a lot from all of the characters. And one of the things that fables have is you hear these archetypes. It's almost like for me, like I play D&D and it's like, okay, she's the cleric and we have the warrior. We have like everybody sort of like battling together. I'd be curious if he talked a little bit about what your character is supposed to represent in this community, because I feel like there's a lot of layers to what she means, not just to her love interest, but to the entire community.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our conversations started before having read the script to the very last take of the very last scene I shot. And Mary's a huge representation of love and community and acceptance and finding a way to sort of move through two worlds, feeling both confident and vulnerable in doing so. One thing I loved so much about Mary is that she would step foot in the juke and feel at home, and that was so apparent. That she was home. She was close to her family. She was close to her mother. She was close to the music. She'd been gone for so long, living a life that was not for her. Living a life that she was pushed into living for her safety, and for a life that Stack wanted her to have, but she wasn't interested in that. She wanted whatever came with being with who she wanted to be with and who she wanted to love and who she felt loved by.
Yeah, there's a really beautiful through line about what you're willing to do for love and some of the bad things that people do for it and so on and so forth. And I think your two characters, Michael, really sort of embody that, and both of their approaches to how they approach the women in their lives, but really how they approach everything. I just want to get to the technical aspect of it. This is just, I feel like a kind of a Simone Biles thing, because I'm like forgetting. I'm like, yeah, but he had to do this like 3 times. So like, can you walk us through like how they did the camera work and still made it to where you could still be believable playing these two parts?
Yeah, it's it's pretty complicated to even explain, even more complicated to execute. On the day. Sometimes, I'm speaking to a body double. Other times, I'm speaking to nobody at all. There's a mark on the wall. It's really challenging for the other actors that are in the scene also. Whether it's hearing my lines played back over a speaker, we tried earwigs, we tried pantomiming. There was a process of us finding using new technology. Had a great visual effects producer, and we created new technology and halo cameras. We had facial recognition things that we had to use, and I had to do a pass with this crazy 8-camera rig on and stuff. So there was very small margin for error when things have to line up perfectly right in the frame and the timing of it all, so I'm not stepping on anybody else's line or walking in the place of my twin brother that he's already passed through. And so once we got a rhythm of that, we call them twin days. Those are the toughest ones, the most challenging. Once we got in the rhythm of shooting those, we knew what to expect. There was always some unforeseen things that popped up.
And then for y'all two, did you have a trick for it? For keeping it straight, did you tag them A and B?
Did you tag them? It was crazy.
No, he was so clear as day when he was smoked for me, and he was so clearly stacked when he was stacked. There was no complication. It was so easy. His detail and for his character work was impeccable.
You throwing a big event tonight?
Your money come up, Lord.
You said this is a love letter to blues, and the music is just such a big part of this. I'd love for you to talk about, was that the foundation of this journey, or where did it sort of begin?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that was the foundation of it. It's very much like in hindsight, the movie I think I was born to make, more than any other films that I've done before. And my working relationship with Ludwig, and the guitar is the instrument that he started with. That's the instrument he's most comfortable with. We never got to make a guitar score before, until this one. And the movie's about a young, musical prodigy, and who knew there was one in Brooklyn, New York, waiting for us, who had this God-given voice and this incredible family that kind of trained him and honed him, and he was ready for the moment. Look, I realized I was introduced to the blues by my uncle, who was from Mississippi, who for many years was the oldest male member of our family. And I would play that music after he passed away, because when I missed him, and I would feel like I was conjuring his spirit. This movie was just an incredible opportunity for me to explore, all the things that I loved, all of my greatest fears, and to work with just some incredible people, man. Actors I always dreamed of working with, and then actors who I didn't know were in my future,
Miles, I don't even know where to begin. I know you are a musician. I researching for this, you toured with her, and so performing is nothing new for you, but the performance is at the center of this movie. And so many of the big moments are around musical performance. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a very big moment where you're really at the center of it, where that music thing that I'm talking about takes over. Can you talk about what it was like preparing for both the acting, but also the musical performance of this, and how you were able to marry those in Ryan's vision?
Yeah, so for the acting portion, I got to work with an acting coach and dialect coach, Beth, and she really helped me to break down the script and kind of find, the different movements and stuff that I would need in order to really convey the role. And then we also listen to different artists like Howlin' Wolf and Sun House, and we listen to audios of them and how they sound to kind of break down, how my character would sound for that. And then as far as the music, man, Ryan, he sent me a playlist of different blues artists for me to study and kind of listen to. And, from then on I started working on guitar for this role, and it just became such a great, environment. That scene you're talking about was incredible to shoot. I think that was the day we were all there at one time. And
hand cramped up.
Hand cramped up a little bit. We did a couple takes, and by the end,
playing so much, he was like, I can't move my fingers.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's incredible about this young man, from our first days on set, I had so much confidence in him. That was kind of inexplicable. You know what I mean? I would be arranging my shots, and I would say, man, I think Miles can probably get this in 2 takes. You know what I mean? And looking back in hindsight, it was like, man, this dude never been in a movie before, man. But I had you know, I had all this faith. And he mentioned Beth. He's talking about Beth McGuire, who's an acting teacher at Yale University. Also works as a dialect coach, but you know, she's taught Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke, and works with Denai Guerrera and Yahya Abdul-Mateen. You know what I mean? All these actors that have come out of Yale, Beth has taught. So, you know, he had one of the best acting teachers and dialect coaches at his disposal. And from the first day that she worked with him, she came to me and said, "Hey man, this kid's got it. Like, you know, this kid has it." And she's not talking about singing; she's talking about acting. You know what I mean? And he just blew us all away every day. I threw him in the Shark Tank. You know what I mean? Like he had scenes with Delroy Lindo and Jack O'Connell and Michael B. Jordan and Wunmi Mosaku. You know what I mean? He's in deep water, and he was thriving.
You fellers must be the owners of this establishment.
That's right. And you are?
We just came here to play. Here, I'll show you.
For all of you, the music is a huge part of not just what you're doing on screen, but what your characters are doing. So talk a little bit about working with Ryan, but also working with Ludwig and what he sort of brings to both like the compositions and the musical production. And Miles, I'll start with you.
I mean, working with Ryan was an amazing experience. You know, I've always been a fan of his projects. And so to be able to work with him now is really kind of full circle for me. You know, every day on set, he really motivated me and pushed me to be better. And he gave me the confidence to really just to go out there and make mistakes and not be afraid to challenge myself in those different areas. And then getting to work with Ludwig, man, it was really special. He's a genius, and the way that he scored the movie was really, really incredible. Yeah. I remember when I first got to New Orleans for us to shoot, we went to the studio and he actually taught me one of the songs, the main song in the juke, and he taught it to me on guitar after I had lessons. So just to have that moment with him and then to get to do the rest of the music, I feel honored.
Oh, I love that. And I won't say too much, but Jack, your character is a musician. What was that like for you? Have you ever gotten to do this much music in a film before?
No, definitely not. It was great, man. I'm a huge fan of music, which sounds like a bit of an idiotic remark.
No, it doesn't.
But you know, I just count myself. It's massively important to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, on this one, it felt like I was in the recording studio, perhaps for more amount of time than I was actually on set. Either rehearsing with the banjo, recording, like, you know, and it was a full professional setup. Yeah. Obviously with like Ludwig and Serena, who were at the top of their game. It was amazing. I loved every second.
Jayme, for you, ma'am, I mean, again, you have a beautiful voice and I'm sure you've employed it in other aspects of your performances, but this one, again, I mean, like it's a full on, like you're having your, I don't know, like Erykah Badu in a Juke Jones moment in this one. It's bigger, you know what I mean?
Oh, I love you forever for that.
Was that an inspo? Was that a bit of inspo?
Erykah Badu was an inspo for my life. I listened to a lot of Erykah Badu, Lauryn Hill, Jill Scott growing up. Man, this I'm describing this film for me and the opportunity to perform as a real homecoming. Yeah, there's a level of liberation that I've gotten to find that was gifted to me by Ryan and Ludwig and Serena. The brilliance of them and the generosity and compassion and confidence that they instilled in me to feel as though I could really step up to what they were asking. I am eternally grateful to all three of them for that.
One of the things I sort of picked up on is I feel like with all of the characters, and it's not that Ryan is like telling you what these are, but I think some of the choices seem so deliberate. And Jack, with your character, with him being Irish, like, I don't know. I have a feeling like, obviously maybe that was from the screenplay, but did Ryan ever talk to you about the significance of that with the character? And then also like having him do some very traditional Irish dances, music, everything about his character.
Definitely, yeah. That was all already in the script, but before my involvement on the production. you know, you can imagine my excitement when I read it for the first time, and then to later learn Ryan's passion for that genre of music. Like he was telling me his kids request for him to play Luke Kelly at home, which is you know just amazing. And it's, look, to me, I find them sounds and them songs very important, and they're also beautiful on every level. But the crossover, man, the crossover in cultures, ever since people were sailing, there was crossovers in cultures, and that appears within music, especially predating the time when civilizations were documenting things in writing, and traditions were very oral. I think at the start of this film we sort of see that's depicted and explained quite beautifully by Annie, Wunmi's character. That ancient trading of culture and music and all of those things has always been very fascinating to me. So to have that in common with Ryan, it really ignited a lot of creative sparks, shall we say.
Jayme and Miles, before we get out of here, we've talked about the musical performances, but the sort of like performance between the two of you, and it's part flirtation, part performance. That was really beautiful to watch, but that's also a very technical scene to achieve because you're having to perform and then the camera's moving. So if you could very quickly, before I get out of here, sort of break down for me what it was like to shoot that and how they set it up.
The big scene was incredible to film. It was very technical. I mean, first of all, that was also the first time that a lot of the crew and cast got to hear Miles really belt out that song. Right. And the way in which she just conjured and commanded the space, it was incredible. And then to see all the different spirits enter and how the technicality of how they wove together that shot and the choreography of it all was absolutely splendid. Yeah,
that was definitely a dope moment. I think she was there also, and we were dancing, and so just to have that moment and have that energy, I think that was a super fun, for sure.
Yeah. Now we out here playing games, telling ghost stories in place of doing what we ought to do.
And what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another.
Delroy Lindo, sir, I'm going to start with you. Music is nothing that you're a stranger to, not even especially performing it on screen or on stage. But I have to feel like with what Ludwig and Ryan were doing with this one, it was different. So did you approach it differently, or did it feel like you were returning to something you'd already done before?
No, I did not feel like I was returning to something. It did feel different in as much as this is a new history, a rich tradition, and it actually was fairly specific what Ryan wanted from me and what Ludwig, the way that we worked, Ludwig and Serena, the way that we worked. So that was all new, sitting down at the piano, navigating the keys on a piano. And I remember I had a number of teachers, for real, jazz musicians, cats who would come out of the New Orleans tradition, right? And one young man said to me, I was having some difficulty making some of the runs on the keyboard, right? And he said, man, it's a different part of your brain. It's a different part of your brain that's required to do this. I never thought about that. Absolutely it is. So those kinds of things and navigating those things made it very, very new, but it also, I felt like I was working to contribute something useful for this overall enterprise.
I love that. And the other thing too is music not is just like a part of the narrative or something that drives it, but there's moments where music is the only thing. And Lily, that scene, like, and I don't want to spoil it for folks that haven't seen the film, but that sort of like culmination of that musical moment that all of y'all are in, I was wondering if you could, without again giving too much away, preview what that was like to both film and experience, because it's got to almost be like a little bit like weird, because in the middle of something very of a certain time period, you're getting all of these different elements that put you in a different time period?
Yes, that's actually an excellent question because we asked that question on set. What music did they play on set? Because we had to follow the same rhythm, but not the music. It was a right.
But you know what? I gotta say this. I know you asked the question of Lily, but can I just jump in really quickly? It wasn't the musical genres. They weren't different because part of the point of the narrative is it's a continuum. It's all connected. It's all connected, and that's part of the beauty of the storytelling at that point in time, and it's the beauty of the way that it manifests in that scene. It's all connected. It's a continuum. That's part of his point, I think.
No, it is. And I think, again, this is why y'all read the script and I'm just like grasping at it. But no, but like, let's break down the technicality of that. Like, first of all, the camera's moving a whole bunch. You all are dancing. There's very, I'm sure, loose choreography. How did you do it, Lily? Like, what was the way y'all did it?
I think it was, it's shot like a oneer, but it was divided into, I think, 4 or 5 pieces. Obviously, the camera had choreography around us, and then it brings it to I feel like I'm revealing the entire scene. Okay. There's a lot of choreography rehearsal with the camera, with the movement of the dancers. But I think what I found most challenging is, despite the fact that we're all moving in the same rhythm, I had to kind of put blinders on because I'm still living in that time period, but still fully aware of all our ancestors from the different periods and how they are moving and how it makes me kind of want to move outside of the 1930s. I think that was a little bit challenging because some parts of the music really wanted me to start twerking, which is something I don't know how to do.
She was truly inspired.
I was.
If there's a filmmaker that could make that work, Ryan Coogler is that filmmaker.
That's right.
Omar, I'm bringing it to you, and again, again, I feel like we're talking in code here, but this is a good one, and I want to talk to you about it. Everyone's talking about the fact that Michael B. Jordan is playing 2 characters in this, and again, not to give anything away, but you have a duality to your role as well, and one that you really had to, I would just say, take big swings with both. How did you approach that, since you also had to put on a little twinning action?
You know what? I tried to be as honest as possible in one portion and as deceptive as possible in the other. Last night, a friend of mine that came to the premiere with me said, you know, there's not a soul in the world that wouldn't have let you back in that place. I felt like you were so innocent. He said, I was looking at your face, and even though you're a giant, you looked like a little kid, and you were doing everything you could to get back in. And I really, really appreciated that. I took that as a real compliment. You know.
That is good.
But maybe because we had all read the script.
Yeah.
This Negro was not getting back in.
They weren't gonna let me back in.
This Negro right here.
I could get back in.
You ain't getting back in, baby.
And
had we wanted to let him back in, Annie would have vetoed that.
Yeah, she wasn't going for it.
There.
So with that, the duality I needed to take was kind of
duality as you want, Negro. You ain't coming in.
There was a before and after point. And
before and after. No, that's just a good way of putting it. Good tease. Good tease.
There's a before and after.
This is something we can talk about a bit more details. I've been feeling since I saw the film that this is really a fable. There's so many lessons to be learned about Black experience, about community, about respecting your ancestors, about embracing art that you can take from the story, right? Did Ryan talk to any of, because one of the things that's sort of like integral to fables, for those of you that didn't have English minor, is their archetypes. And these archetypes are supposed to represent personalities or lessons. Did Ryan talk to you about what, if any, of your characters were as far as what they represented?
No. And that's the beauty of it.
I agree.
That's the beauty of it. He's not spoon feeding. He's not saying, man, I think. No, he's leaving us. He's setting up he's putting us in the arena. He's saying, this is the game. These are the rules. This is the
rules of the game.
Play. Have at it.
That's
play.
It. Play.
You say fable. I say allegory. Same deal. I mean, similar deals, right? That's the beauty. That's part of his gift as a director.
Sure is.
He casts really well.
And he trusts his casting.
And he trusts his casting.
And in that, he's also not, in the same way he's not spoon-feeding it to us as his performers, he's not spoon-feeding it to the audience.
Amen.
You can get what you want to get out of
from
this
it what
film.
you want. And you got Fable,
That's it.
which is right on time. And something that I got last night, which I have not, so last night was my third time seeing it. And I'm going to add something else. I'm going to add, it's about love. The love that exists between Smoke and Stack when he says, I'm not doing this without you, bruh.
Oh, man.
And he means that. He means that. And you think, and the other thing, when Stack loses his brother, he said, man, you the best part of me. He's the best part of me. I mean, nuggets. I don't know what it has to do with, but I can imagine, I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I interpreted it as part of what it means to be a twin. To be two human beings, but one at the same time. When you talk to twins, for instance, who have lost their twin in childbirth, the ones that I've spoken with have always spoken about a piece of themselves that's missing. There's still that, I don't know, biological, physiological connection that is not there.
Like a ghost limb. It's like a ghost limb.
It's like a ghost limb.
That you feel. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
exactly.